Khandamandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimidandasya jnananjanam shalakaya chakshuruminitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, what shall we do? Should we continue with the Upanishad or what shall we do? I think we already attained Moksha now. What next? Okay. The syllable Om was described. That was the last we read from the Upanishad. Now, further, the syllable is being described. Etadhi evaksharam brahma, etadhi evaksharam param, etadhi evaksharam jnatva, yo yat ichchati tasya tat. This syllable, Om, that we discussed in the Upanishad, says Yama to Nachiketas, is verily the sound of the everlasting spirit, which is what Nachiketas was trying to find. This syllable indeed is the highest. And knowing this very syllable, whatever anyone desires will indeed be his. So don't worry about moksha. That's the message. Everybody is serious. They said, yeah, that is right. Who wants moksha? This syllable is verily the everlasting spirit. This syllable indeed is the highest end. Knowing this very syllable, whatever anyone desires will indeed be his. But is there anything more desirable than what Nachiketas wants? No. Etad alambanam sreshtam. Etad alambanam param. Etat alambanam jnatva brahmaloke mahiyate. This support is the best of all. This support is the highest. Knowing this support, one becomes great in the world of Brahma. Now, when we discussed yesterday, I told you, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, these are all names given to lower manifestations of the Supreme Brahman. The Upanishad is saying when you have the weapon called Om in your hands, you're even beyond the status of Brahma, the creator. Because you have touched the Brahman. And the sound is called Shabdabrahman. Om is called the Shabdabrahman. Here Brahma meaning Brahman, which means what? That it is the sound that represents Brahman, and the Brahman is not different from the sound, and the sound is Brahman. It represents the primeval sound which started the whole process of changing frequencies from one to many, and the very varied world came into being. the original sound. And that sound is Om. You will find this mentioned as sound. Brahman is also a word, right? So you might find it mentioned in some other traditions also, which say in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, which in the Rig Veda is Prajapati, Vai idam agre asit. In the beginning was Prajapati, the Supreme Being. Prajapati Vai idam agre asit. Tasya vak divitya asit. And that Prajapati was the sound, the vak, the word. Vak vai parabrahman. That word is not different. That sound is no different from the Brahman. Right. So, this means many things, many layered. When you start chanting a poem, it starts from a, then it goes to u, it ends with ma. So it's one cycle of creation, preserving and ending. One cycle. As you repeat, this creating, preserving and ending goes on in a loop. And as it goes on and on, you're connected with that loop which is always going around in the universe. So if you say, how do I know? Chant regularly. And then you'll find out for yourself. So it's a very, very valuable thing that's given to us after talking about something that is very vague and kind of, what shall we call it, indefinite. The Upanishad finds one straw to hold on to, which will probably act as the boat that takes you across the barrier. So the barrier can only be linked through sound, not through words, not through intellectual understanding, only through sound. Sound is the most important thing. And it is this sound which, among all sounds, is the most important sound. And once you link yourself with this sound, then you are moving forward. Now there is one thing here. The yogi who goes deep into his consciousness through meditation begins to hear this sound, pranava, even without saying it, inside. This sound, when heard without being chanted, automatically inside, is called anahat. That means a sound which is made without striking objects together. Usually sound can be made only like this. In the depth of meditation, one hears the sound. All by itself, we don't even know where it originates from. And this sound, which is heard internally, is also called a Shabda. Well, in Punjabi it becomes Shabd, it is Shabda. So the importance of sound is something the Upanishad is trying to stress, saying when you, it's like this, from seen objects through the eyes, touched objects through the hands, tasted through the tongue, smelled through the nose. Among these, the most important is the sound that you hear, Shabd. Because the Shabda has an internal counterpart. While the external one Shabda, the internal Shabda is Om. Hmm? Now, practically, if you want to do this, do your whatever meditation or kriya, whatever you're doing, and then sit down and quietly listen to explore if there is any inner sound going on. Sometimes you hear a sound like crickets. Sometimes you hear a sound like a bell. Don't imagine. No. And if you hear a sound like a bell, look out and see somebody might be ringing a bell. But eliminate all that. And then when you sit quietly, if there is a sound. Now, the best way to connect to the inner being which sits in the secret of the heart, as the Upanishad says, is to, once you hear that sound, stop all action, stop all thought, just say, I'm listening to the sound, and keep listening to it. And don't interpret it. Don't say it is coming from here or there or all these things. Don't even say, oh, it's going to take me to the Brahman. Forget about all that. Just listen to the sound. As you listen to the sound, it will take you deeper and deeper. As you go deeper, the sound kind of blows up for a time. And then slowly, then the sound disappears and there is only that. In Punjab, well, it didn't start in Punjab, it started in Agra. There is a particular group of people called the Radha Swamis. I don't know if you know about it. Who said yeah? Oh. The Radha Swamis. So their initiation basically consists of what they call Namdan. Give you a sound to meditate upon. And you fix your attention in the middle of the forehead and then try and listen to the Shabd, the sound going on inside. Now this is not a new thing. It was picked up from an ancient source and put forward. The only problem is, they said this is the only way, but there are many ways. That's where everything gets into trouble. So the Upanishad says this support is the best of all, this support is the highest. Knowing this support, one becomes great in the world of Brahma. Then the 18th sloka again describes the inner self. The self which is not born and therefore does not die, which remains hidden in the recesses of your being, which can be found in quietness and silence, and also through listening to the sound, or through chanting Om and listening to it. Describing that self, the Upanishad says, Na jayate mriyate va vipaschin nayam kutaschin na babhuva kaschit ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sarire. That knowing self, the inner self of all, is never born and therefore never dies. It sprang from nothing. And in the real sense of the term, nothing sprang from it. When the mind is quiet and stops all constructions, there is nothing seen there except the self. It was neither born, because it was not born, it's not going to die. And it sprang from nothing. Nothing sprang from it. It is unborn, eternal, abiding, and primeval. And when the body is slain, it is not slain. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. When the body is slain, the self is not slain. It is eternal. If the slayer thinks that he slays, or if the slain think that they are being slain, both do not understand. He neither slays, nor is he slain. The same sloka appears in the Gita also. Which means, don't worry, go kill your neighbor because he never dies. No, that's not the word. I didn't say that, okay? I'm joking. Again, trying to describe that which is indescribable, but it's described to show that it cannot be compared with anything else. Anor, Aniyan, smaller than the small. Now, if you say smaller than the small, then it will remain very small normally. But here next sloka, next part is Mahado Mahiyan, larger than the largest. Smaller than the small. That means in every little grain of sand and in every little insect that goes around, it is there. Mahato Mahiyan, in the biggest universe, it's there. So, smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. The self is set in the heart of every creature. Atmasya jantor nihito guhayam. In the secret recesses of the inner core of every being, it is there. Now here is a statement which is very interesting. Tam akrutu pashyati vitashokho. The unstriving man beholds him, freed from sorrow. Which means, when one understands that no amount of circus or acrobatics is going to find it and doesn't strive anymore, becomes silent, such a one finds it. As long as the agency is there, like I am going to find it, it doesn't. You can't find it. The moment you say I started this particular Upanishad session yesterday with the story of the glass box divided into two, with creatures of different colors on either side, and how they're trying to go there, but they don't know how because there are only two dimensions. But they're constantly striving, and because they are striving and moving, they can't go to the other side because there's no way. One of them, after striving for a long time, surrenders, becomes the unstriving man, and sits quietly in a corner saying, no, this is not working. Then the top is open, I'm watching, poor fellow has been smuggling, I pick it up, put it there. If I try to put him there in the beginning, I can't, because it cannot be touched or reached. You get what the Upanishad is trying to convey? I'm trying hard to convey something. I know at the end of it somebody will ask me, now what is Moksha? Apparently in India they say somebody heard the Ramayana the whole night. In the morning said, so how is Sita related to Rama? So, no, sorry, I'm not. Smaller than the small, greater than the great, the self is set in the heart, in the core of every creature. The unstriving man. From when I write an Upanishad, I'm going to write the unstriving woman to fight against this discrimination. The unstriving man beholds him freed from sorrow. Through how? Through the tranquility of the mind and the senses. He sees the greatness of the self. Otherwise the circus is going on constantly, the senses and the mind. When all the senses one discovers is absolutely of no use, it settles down quietly, then listens to the inner sound. When everything settles down, the inner sound becomes evident and just stays there. Perhaps he discovers the self. Now again the Upanishad trying to describe the indescribable. Describes the Supreme Self. Trying to describe the indescribable, describes the Supreme Self. How? Just to show that it is not an ordinary thing that we are talking about, but something that is transcendent. An ordinary thing in this world, including you and me, if we consider ourselves as things, cannot be like this. And the good news is that we are also this, in the true sense of the term, in essence. Asino duram rajati, sayano yati sarvata, kastam madamadam devam, mad anyo jatam arhati. Sitting, he moves far. Now this is not possible for a material thing. If it is sitting, it's not moving. If it's moving, it's not sitting. The sitting, he moves far. Sayano yati sarvata. Lying. He goes everywhere. Lying down. Now there is one danger in this sentence. Lying, he goes everywhere. Actually here the Upanishad is referring to the fact that that supreme reality, the self, it may be lying, but it is always everywhere, all-pervading. But in yogic terms, people interpret it that the body is sleeping, but the subtle body is moving everywhere. True, but that is not the sense here. Sthula Sharira is in Sayana, sleeping. The Sushma Sharira is going everywhere, looking what is Volga doing, what is Manikantan doing, what is he up to. No, sorry, I never do that. It's not allowed. In fact, if the world's intelligence forces learn this, it will be dangerous. They go everywhere and see what's going on. So in one sense it means while lying you can move around. And other sense, in this sense, in the Upanishad, it goes into the depths of consciousness, saying that while you think it is here, it is also there. Sleeping yet it is awake and everywhere. Why is it sleeping? Because it is motionless, absolutely still and tranquil. And yet, it is all that pulsates around. And then it says, who, save myself, is fit to know that God who rejoices and rejoices not. Now, what is the meaning of rejoice? Now, here, who other than me am I fit to know is said by Nachiketas here. One interpretation. Shankara says that it is Yama himself who is saying this. That who but me, death, knows that this God, this inner being, this self, is the one who rejoices and yet rejoices not. Now this is where we have to go a little carefully. I've looked at all the commentaries and I'm just trying to boil it up into a palpable whole. WHOLE. What was it? It rejoices and rejoices not. When you rejoice, when I and you rejoice, what is our inner self? That. So when I rejoice, the self is rejoicing. When you rejoice, the self, I think I am rejoicing, but the self is rejoicing. But in its true sense, it has nothing to rejoice because it is always intrinsically blissful. It doesn't need anything to rejoice. So, in manifestation as living beings, it rejoices. When the beings rejoice, and in its absolute sense, it has nothing to rejoice about because it is itself rejoicement. Put it this way, you need water to clean many things. Water is used when one is baptized. Water is used for abhisheka. Water is used to sprinkle when you need to feel pure. Water is used to clean things, purify. But the water is not used to wash itself. Right? Water doesn't need to wash itself. In the same way, somewhat, and an allegory can only be somewhat close. You can't, a simile, that's why it's called a simile. It's not the same, but it's a simile. So, in the same way, this Atman, the self, it rejoices when you are rejoicing, but by itself it needs no rejoicement, because it is the essence of all rejoicing. Don't know what. Also to repeat with the Rishi, na vidmo, na vijanimo, yathaitata. I don't understand how to explain this. This is called learning. Last time something fell, I asked somebody to help. She came on all fours and picked it up. And now I didn't say anything and she picked it up. So we are progressing. Good. So, one more example. I can see you all because I have eyes. Now, because I have eyes, I can see you. I cannot see my own eyes. I can see a reflection in a mirror, but that's not the same thing. I see you all, and therefore I know that my eye exists. Because if it didn't exist, I wouldn't see you all. I can't see my eye myself. That doesn't disprove that the eye exists, because it sees everything similar. That self enjoys everything, sees everything, but it doesn't have to see itself to know that it exists, because it sees everything. It is the essence of seeing. You got it. That was a positive shake of head. Therefore, ashariram sarireshu Therefore, knowing the self, which is bodiless among the bodies, the stable among the unstable. Usually everybody is unstable, but the stable ones among the unstable, the great, the all-pervading, the wise man, understanding this, does not grieve. Because grief does not affect the inner self, the outer. Knowing that I am not this but that, which is the Mahavakya, Tattvamasi. You are not this, you are that. Does not grieve anymore. Then it comes to the next sloka, which we started with. I said, let's start with one sloka of the Kathopanishad yesterday morning, first session. And the 23rd sloka occurs after this, which is Nayam Atma Paravachanena Labhyo Na Medhaya Na Bahuna Shrutena Imevasya Vrunute Tena Labhyas Tasya Isa Atma Vivnate Tanum Swam. This self cannot be attained by instruction. We started with that, right? This self cannot be attained by pravachana, instruction. And yet we continued pravachana for 2 days. Na medhaya, nor by intellectual power, so-called. Na bahuna shrutena, nor through much hearing. Yamevasya vrunute tena labhyas, and yet it can be attained by whom? By whom? By who has been chosen by the self. Tasyesha Atma Vivurnute Tanum Swam. To such a one, the self reveals its own nature, which means even if I talk, or somebody else, for 10 days together, that pravachana will have no effect in finding the truth. Even if I have high intellectual part, I might even discover the quantum, whatever. I'm not saying particle because nobody knows. Particle or wave. Even if I know quantum physics, even if I keep listening, bahuna shrutena, again and again, too much listening also becomes a ritual, a repetition. Dull repetition. It can't be understood. It can be understood by who the self chooses. Now, that means, it doesn't mean that there should not be pravachana. It doesn't mean there should not be intelligence. It does not mean one shouldn't listen to it again and again. Saying when all this happens, finally when one realizes that no effort from my side is going to be of help and settles down, such a one finds the self. This is the meaning of saying the self chooses. Now the self cannot choose because you are doing all kinds of acrobatics. Now the self is saying, relax, you are jumping up. So, when this happens, when one recognizes that it is not an object of the earth which can be found through striving this, that, and okay, maybe not. This is called surrender. But surrender can happen only after you try many times. You can't surrender in the beginning. So this is the meaning of surrender. Not, oh, I surrender to you and fall at my feet. I mean, that's not surrender. Surrender is the mind that surrenders, knowing that it doesn't have the capability or the capacity to touch the Absolute. If the conditioned mind can touch the Absolute unconditioned, it no longer remains unconditioned. It cannot be. Because this is a conditioned mind. How can it touch the unconditioned? So the unconditioned is when this conditioned mind ceases to be. I don't know if that will be. Then the self reveals itself. But that does not mean that you have to do nothing. You need not strive. You can lead your life as you like, and the self will reveal itself to you. The self reveals itself when you purify your mind, which is given to you. The will to purify your mind, to clear your mind, and when that happens, then the self reveals. It doesn't otherwise. So you can tempt the self to reveal itself. How? Not tempt, how to do that? Not he who has not desisted from evil ways, not he who is not tranquil, not he who has no concentrated mind, not even he whose mind is not composed can reach this self through right knowledge. Which means you shouldn't say, one shouldn't think that self is going to reveal itself. Okay, so let it reveal itself whenever possible. For the helicopter to land, you need to prepare a helipad. For a plane to land, you need a runway. The plane will land. You can't do anything about that. You can't sit here and pull the helicopter down, but you can prepare your helipad. And the preparing of the helipad is called sadhana, so that it can land. So that one who flies on the Garuda comes and lands. There is no space here to land. It's all occupied. Freeing the mind from that occupation is sadhana. And the moment you start applying yourself to this, the Supreme Self begins to give you help to do that. Why? Because you shouldn't also think, I am doing this, I am doing that. It is the self that is doing that. But actions are required. So, one whose mind is concentrated, or who tries to make his mind concentrated, who desists from evil ways, whose mind is composed, to him the self reveals itself. We discussed that. It's enough. Actually, this is all there is in the Katha Upanishad. The rest is all a remixing of the same old hit songs. Yeah? How many minutes do we have? We have some time, yes.
Namaskaram, Guruji. Sorry, I've not formulated my question well, but my question basically is, so today during the morning session, you mentioned a blind leading the blind, right?
The what?
A blind leading the blind.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
I didn't. The Upanishad mentioned it.
Yes,
I read it out to you.
Yes, Guruji. So, in the context of that, I wanted to ask, so I have a few family members and I've seen them following certain gurus and falling into dark pits. Even though those gurus get in trouble with
Get
law,
what?
get in trouble with the law, with the law, they get arrested and stuff. Still, their faith in their guru is so much that they continue to believe them. And I want to know what is my role in a situation like that. Like when we see someone going through that and still having an unwavering belief for their guru.
It's a little tricky. The situation is a little tricky. If you try to interfere, they may not take it kindly. And also, it's not a isolated case which we can study. It's like there are many teachers, many gurus. Many of them, some of them may be good, some of them may be bad. Some of them may be good, but the world thinks they're bad. There are various angles to this, because some spiritual teachers are so not caring for what the world thinks or what law thinks about, go about their lives. Now, to the outsider, this may appear to be bad. It may not. I'm not saying about this particular instance. It may not be. And these teachers are famous for flouting rules many times. Because for them there is no rule. Living in this world is better to follow some. But if you really see people who are like, say, taking somebody else's life, or misleading somebody, or taking away somebody's property, or taking away your wife, and things like that, then one should seriously think that this is not the right thing to do. Whether the law takes its steps or not. If somebody is caught up in such a situation, it's your right to explain, well, I don't think this is the right thing to do. But don't go beyond a certain point, because they might have pinned their hopes on that person. And therefore, since they have pinned their hopes on somebody or something, even if that person is bad or God, that hope may help them to go forward. So it's very tricky. You have to be very, very careful and take it only as an individual case and do not generalize about it. You understand? And also, to correct somebody, you can also be very kind and do it and not get very worked up about it. Of course, you can suggest, I don't think you're doing the right thing, that you can do. And then leave it to them to figure out where they are moving. And when it becomes your own relatives, it becomes even more difficult. Understand? No harm in presenting the picture to them. Listen, I don't think a spiritual person will behave like this. Well, it's up to you. That you can do. I can't go further than that, because I don't know who you're referring to. I don't want it also public, unnecessarily. So, that you feel bad is a good indication. I have a suggestion that you read my autobiography carefully, and I have had a few encounters which was bad and I withdrew from it, but I also had someone who was genuine and I followed him. So read that and you will find some hints out there. He's already taken the microphone.
Guruji, I had heard somewhere, like you mentioned about Om. So they had said the same thing, the is the sound you focus on. But they said the complete Om also consists of a Nad and a Bindu. But they didn't say how to pronounce it. So can you please guide us?
The Nad is the sound that you listen to. That's the Nad. Which means anything that is heard with the Shrotra is Nad. Bindu simply means the essence of the sound. It doesn't mean a physical location or a physical part of the mantra. It means, on the whole, a Bindu of a Nada is the center of everything from which the whole thing appears, which means it is the core and the center of the Nad. The Nad also has to appear from somewhere, right? It appears from the Bindu. That is what it means. You don't have to search for it. When you go deep inside listening to the Nada, you're actually entering into the Bindu. The center. What is a Bindu? Bindu means a dot, a small dot. It's also called the Kendra Bindu, which means it is the center of all attention, the Bindu. And it's like suppose I have a white piece of paper and I put a dot there. Let's say black, for our purpose. And then how does a straight line come about when many dots are continued? First you put one dot, hold the pen there, keep on making your dot. That's when straight line happens. So a Bindu is symbolic of the origin of things. Origin of sound, origin of the universe, the the Hiranyagarbha, all this is Bindu. It's the center from which the whole world then proceeds. Now, from the Bindu comes the straight line. Now, a straight line, now we are going into Sankhya, Kapila. A straight line has only one dimension. I mean, it has two, but actually only this is linear. It's linear. It has no other dimensions. Now, this straight line, according to Sankhya and according to now advanced mathematics, every straight line is part of an infinite curve. Normally a straight line shouldn't meet. It can't meet. It goes. But it's supposed to be part of a large curve. And if it is part of a large curve, it meets somewhere in infinity. We don't know where it meets. So it no longer remains straight. This is the simplest line that one can draw. When that line comes straight and then turns in one direction, then it becomes a right angle. At that point, if you want to join the ends, you draw a straight line and it's joined. It becomes a triangle. So, in the Shastras, the Agamas, the Sri Yantra is drawn by joining the Bindu, turning it right and making it into a triangle. A triangle with its three dimensions is the first complete figure you can make in geometry. Otherwise it's open, it's not closed, right? A triangle is closed. Of course, if you add one, this and this, then it becomes a square. But otherwise, the shortest complete figure you can make is a triangle. And all this originates from the Bindu. First the Bindu becomes a line, then the Bindu turns, and then it becomes a triangle. And the triangle is what? A triangle is you have seen a prism, right? A prism, basically, is a triangle. And white light, when it passes through it, comes out on this side as the spectrum of all colors. And all the colors of the spectrum going through will become white on the other side. No, let's not go too much into this. You will have to go into the Pythagorean system of it gets a little too mystical and so on. Let's not. All I can say is that bindu, which you will see in the middle of the Sri Yantra, in a triangle. Please don't ask me, please teach us Sri Vidya gods. I know what you're thinking. This dot is the bindu. And in Om, when everything is silent and the ma ends, the bindu remains, because the bindu is the center from which this whole thing has taken place. Don't try to find it or anything. You just chant the Om and listen to it, let the mind settle down. When the mind is fully settled down, you're in the kendra, in the center, which is the bindu. When we do kriya, we take the bindu again, instead of bringing it down to a line, we take it up to the line. Those who have taken kriya will know that we use the bindu to go up and down. So these are the some of my favorite things.
Sir, when we started the course, we talked about if somebody slaps you, and then 5 years later, we have to move on. But if somebody is Gandhiji's follower, and Gandhiji's teachings are, if someone slaps you, you show the other cheek.
Not possible.
So, I mean, I'm thinking in terms of, like somebody goes on fasting or torturing yourself, so that you see a change in other person, versus, forgetting and moving on and expecting that other person will change on as well. Just wanted, if we can comment.
See, look, it's like
comment
this.
on that.
If you want to live happily in this world, forget about Atma Sakshatkara. You want to live happily even in this world, it's better to forget and forgive and move along. Let the other person we can't change the other person. You can change yourself. So you don't have to be like Gandhi and say, somebody tries to show the other cheek. Then in this world you'll get slapped. On both cheeks, constantly. That's you can't practically practice it. But yes, it's a good idea, but you can't implement it in this world. It's basically a violent world. The only thing you can do is to forget and forgive and move forward. Protect yourself from the next slap, no harm. Right? But what has happened, can leave it behind. And these slaps are not physical things. Usually, sometimes a verbal slap is worse than a physical slap. Now, somebody says that you are a useless, absolute idiot, and even if you slap, it may go off in 10 minutes. This won't go. It will remain, and whenever I see that person, I don't, I'll say, oh, this is the fellow who said, okay, oh, we'll see, we'll find out, and so on. So then what happens? It becomes a festering wound. We cannot free ourselves from that. So I used to, in the early days, practice an exercise. In the night when I went to sleep, I used to open one window and say, here, all that has happened to me, which has displeased me, done by this, that person, everything, not in particular. I'm rolling it up into one ball, then I'm throwing it out. I practiced it many times, because even I went through all this, not that you are exceptional, I am exceptional. And then one day, it happened, whenever it came, it went up by itself through the window. But in the beginning, you need to work on it. You need to practice it. Otherwise, you can't live even happily. Forget about Atma Sakshatkara. And plus, please remember the fact that you are wasting your energy by thinking of these things. That tremendous energy, which can be used for a good purpose, is being used in this brooding. My mother-in-law said this to me. So actually somebody told me, my mother-in-law, I said, tomorrow morning, get up, give her a small kaju katli, a sweet. And this is very nice. Mom, please have it. And so on. She said, I gave it to her, and she said, you made it, huh? I said, yeah. Hey, it's horrible. What can you do? Well, all mother-in-laws are not like that.
So how did you know about it's about my mother-in-law?
Pranam Guruji. So my question is around surrender. Is surrendering a part of the process of mind purification or kind of a conclusion when the mind is purified? Like how does one realize that one needs to surrender after his mind is purified?
No, look, it's like this. When you've been constantly trying and trying, I'm talking about the spiritual journey, trying, and not other human beings, I mean your own spiritual journey. And trying, and then you say, I think I'm trying too hard. Let me keep quiet for a while. Let me allow my mind to settle down. Instead of trying, one part of the mind is pulling the other part of the mind and, hey, shut up. Good practice. Continue for a while until it becomes a repetitious practice. It happens even before you want to do it. Like, I'll tell you. Like in golf, you need to have your... No, it's not stick. When you have your club, the first thing is you should know how to catch it. You can't catch a club like this. If your catch is perfect, then the swing will be good. If your catch is not perfect, after a while what happens, the muscle has memory, right? So gradually, the muscle learns exactly how to swing. Every swing will be the same. Energy may be less or more, but action will be the same. Right? Till then you need to practice. Once that happens, then don't get into the picture and say, hold harder. No, it becomes easy. Because the muscle memory then begins to act. Like that, if mind has a muscle, the mind-muscle memory also begins to act. So first you have to try hard, there's no question. After that it becomes much better through constant practice. There comes a point when you say, let me relax. In meditation, it's not so in golf, if you relax, nothing will go. When you say, now it's time to relax, then you'll see that it takes over. And all the troubles that seem to be troubling you have all disappeared.
So then we become the unstriving man?
Huh?
Do we become the unstriving man?
Yes. Then you become the unstriving man. But unstriving comes only after a great deal of striving. This is what you should do. Yes, Sarah, you wanted to say something.
My question is about language. And
About?
Language. And you were saying that
Language,
to have thoughts, we have to have words and language. And Sanskrit seems like a very nuanced language that is approximating the ineffable. And English seems like a much more concrete, clunky way of...
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, just...
So what do we do?
Are we, is it important to...
Yeah.
It has to come through Sanskrit, basically.
Yes. Yeah,
No?
You know, you're right in a way, but I need to counter it. There are many people who know excellent Sanskrit, but who have not advanced on the spiritual path. Now, you should understand that Sanskrit is a beautiful language. Many things which you cannot express in other languages can be expressed in Sanskrit. But then Sanskrit has been used not only for religious and spiritual purposes. All great dramas have been written in Sanskrit. Kalidasa wrote all his plays in Sanskrit. Aryabhata wrote all his mathematical equations in Sanskrit. The great singers wrote all their lyrics in Sanskrit, many. So, while Sanskrit is a wonderful language, it's not a confirmed theory that if you study Sanskrit, you can find the self. Even a person who knows English can find the self. That's not true. But you're right, the expression, for instance, like the Upanishads, I don't know whether we can really write it in English. You can explain it when people don't know Sanskrit. The original lesson, for even the very word Atma, for the self, if you actually look into the Sanskrit dictionary, we all have a certain idea about what Atman means. This is interesting. The first man who wrote the Sanskrit dictionary was Sir Munir Williams, a British man, an Englishman. So if you look at the dictionary, Atman has 56 meanings in it. So it depends on in what context you're using the word. So sometimes it becomes a little too technical. However, it's the best language to present subtle things. So yes, you're right. It's a good idea to study. You can start by just chanting. You know why? Because Sanskrit chants are from ancient times built with a certain sound variation. You can't chant like a straight line. You need to go up and down, move forward, lengthen it a bit, and so on. So even if you don't know what you're chanting, if the sounds are coming correct, the sound of the chant adjusts your mind waves, frequencies, even if you don't know what you're chanting. So there are chants to bring your mind to attention. There are chants to make your mind go out. There are chants to bring your mind inside. So I agree with you, yes, but not necessary that you should learn Sanskrit too. Because even in India, there have been a great many yogis who probably didn't know much Sanskrit. Yes. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa did not know much Sanskrit. He could hardly, I think, sign his name, even in his own native language. And yet he produced somebody like Swami Vivekananda, who said that for 25 years he's been studying the Siddhanta Kaumadi, which is a grammar, and said it might take him 25 more years to learn. The toughest grammar, probably nearest to Sanskrit, is German. German grammar. So, it's actually time. Huh? Achha, theek hai. Okay. Done. Thank you very much. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.